Hey, everybody. Hello, hello. Welcome to the Petropolis podcast. We're back at Cat University with Terry Grow, my cat friend. I think she's the only one that would be willing to do this episode with me. I've been looking for a partner in crime to talk about hairballs. And I think it's a really important subject to cover because I don't think people realize what really causes it these days. A lot of cat owners assume they can treat something topically or with a laxatone, those gels with the oils in them, and they're so gross. But I, I I knew Terry would do this with me, and I have been looking forward to speaking to someone who gets cats and loves cats as much as I do. And I got a cat expert. Hi, Terry.
Hello. Thanks for inviting me on this crazy topic.
So before I started recording, I was telling Terry, this got me interested. I became interested in hairballs when my niece, as a youngin, age 3 or 4, I think it was, started eating her hair, and that's pica, and it's called Rapunzel syndrome in humans. And all I know are animals. What do I know about kids? So I started observing my cats and watching them yak it up, and started reading about this. So got all excited when Terry and I finally agreed to do this. Thanks for
I'm not
letting
going to
me
get
have.
much through laughing through all of this. But it's not a laughing matter, and that's the crazy thing. I mean, everybody makes fun of hairballs and stepping on the gooey things, and waking up in the middle of the night. But they're a warning sign.
They are. Yeah, they are. Let's talk about it. Hang on. There's sirens again in New York. Everyone, every episode I do, these
Uh-huh.
damn effing sirens. And I'm not going to sit in my closet. I
No,
like sunlight. Screw that.
it's natural.
Okay.
I mean, it happens. So who knows? Once in a while we have Air Force One fly over us. So I'm like,
All right. That's a lot
Marine.
nicer than New York City
Yeah, true.
police. Okay. Hairballs.
Hairballs.
All right. It's a warning sign, you said. I love
Hmm.
that because that's real. It's a warning sign.
Yeah.
Um, when you say that, what do you mean?
I think we need to, well, it depends on the amount of hairballs. I think that's what's really a discussion. And it's interesting. When I was going back and doing research, I had on one end of the spectrum veterinarians, one veterinarian saying, oh, a couple of hairballs a month, that's normal. Where on the other spectrum, one or two a year should really be pretty much the norm. So, I think there's still a lot of lack of understanding of what's going on. And I also found, especially in the research data, when, like I told you, I had to do my homework for you on this one because I
Thank you.
I thought it was really fascinating that there's a lot of things on how to cure them, but not really about the root of the cause and preventing them.
Mm-hmm. Yes, exactly. And
So,
I knew you would deliver here. This is why I get excited about talking to you, and this is how we can learn.
yes,
So,
yes. So,
so low quality diets
yeah, I even
are
found,
often a
oh,
reason.
it's
Yeah.
it's inappropriate diets, I think, is the biggest one. In fact, I found a quote and I even emailed the veterinarian who quoted this. I'm going to respond to tell you this because you're going to love it.
Okay.
But he hasn't responded, and I hope. But his comment was possible that some commercial foods trigger digestive conditions.
Hmm.
So if we start looking at, and I took it upon myself to reach out to one of the raw food feeding groups to cats, and said to them, when you got off particularly dry food and went to raw feed
Mm-hmm.
dieting or raw foods, did you see a change in hairballs? And every one of them came back to me, said they saw it either resolve completely or greatly diminished. So I
Yeah.
think that's some anecdotal, it's certainly not clinical, but anecdotal information to say we really need to look at what our cats are eating, which you and I talked about over and over again.
Yes. Yeah. I find low quality diets means more waste products, right?
Mm-hmm.
More waste output. And a lot of times that waste output also goes through the skin, hence affecting the coat.
Probably, yes,
Yeah.
the,
And when
the
you
actually
have,
nourishment of the fur.
exactly. And when you have oily hair, oily skin, that's essentially a dust mop. And it's collecting everything as this animal is walking through the house, and then they lick that and they're ingesting it. That has to come back out somehow, either through feces or they vomit it up. I last time I think one of my cats plopped a hairball out, maybe even about 6, 7 months ago. They rarely have hairballs, and the other factor is grooming your pets.
Mm-hmm.
We forget that. We
Yes,
forget that, they got to get brushed and combed.
I'm
They don't have
even,
to be long haired, you
no,
know?
and I'm guilty of it. I have short hair Orientals, and I watch them groom each other, but it's been a while since I've used a brush on them too, or even one of the zooming brooms, to try to pull out that debris of hair. So
Mhm.
they're a combination of things, but I think it does come down to more of what you're feeding to make an unhealthy coat, but also then behavioral issues need to be approached. One of the comments is compulsive licking. Well, why is the cat compulsively licking itself? Or, encouraging people to shave the bellies of the cat because that reduces it. Well, the cat's licking its belly for a reason.
I'll tell you, in the years that many years I've been doing this, cats that are compulsive lickers tend to have urinary problems.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it's
So
a
one of the,
stress. I think it's a stress reliever.
Mhm.
For it is a way for, we see dogs chew their feet. If it's not a food dog, they actually chew their feet. I
Mhm.
think I agree with you. I think there is um, definitely a health component with the behavior issue that's going on.
Yeah,
Really.
and we're not digging deep enough. We just think, uh,
Yeah.
3 or 4 times a month. Is that what the
Right.
vet said? What?
Yeah. Yeah. No, he said even once or twice a month, and even that I don't think is appropriate. I remember when I talked to some clients, I say to them, well, if your child vomits several times a month, what do you do?
Exactly. Thank you for saying that. Thank you for saying that.
Yeah. Um,
So what do we do? I mean, I have clients, and you had your store Pets Age. Clients would come in and look for something, the gels because that's all they saw online,
mhm.
or they would want something topical, or a vitamin, a pill,
Right.
as
Oh,
opposed to a diet change.
well, that was actually another quote I wanted to share with you. This is one of the major three manufacturer talks about hairball foods
Hmm.
and what they add to hairball foods. And I thought it was really fascinating that they talk about hairball kibble, lots of fiber to take for the digestive tract, and
I'm sorry,
contain,
can I just jump in there? Lots of
yeah, no,
fiber for the digestive tract for an obligate carnivore.
correct. So
Got it.
this,
Okay.
no, this is what you're saying, and contains extra vitamins and minerals to keep the fur in good condition and reduce hair loss. Wait a minute. Why are we adding vitamins and minerals and fiber if we're not really giving that in the original diet, species appropriate diet? So again, it's this whole concept of treating afterwards instead of saying, oh, wait a minute, let's really look at what the cat can digest and absorb, the best digestibility of the proteins that it's getting that's going to make healthier fur.
Yeah. Without having to add components that are
Mhm.
not part of what they would normally eat anyway.
Yeah, and I think there's some interesting discussion. A part of this has and I'm opening this is once a cat's GI system has been, let's say, damaged, And there is a theory then that they could use some fiber help, but
Mhm.
but more and more is not going to resolve the issue. We need to really step back and look at healing the gut if we can, or at least try to manage it more appropriately. Yes?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. So our first step here would be to adjust the diet to a species appropriate diet. For you and I, species appropriate diet is a quality raw diet.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people prefer to not feed raw, or they have fears, or their vets have put up the skull and crossbones when it comes to raw food,
Right.
which we don't need to get into here. We'll discuss it another time.
Yes,
So
yes.
if you choose to not do raw, a high meat content quality canned food
Mm-hmm.
is the way to go.
Absolutely.
High
But
meat content.
sorry?
High meat content.
Correct. That's a qualifying statement there. But also we have to be a little cautious of that. And some of the research that I've been doing in a course, we're finding that let's go back to the GI tract. If the GI tract is not working properly, what's triggering that? So one of the things that we're looking at, even with all canned food diets, is thiamine may actually be deficient.
Yep.
Well, thiamine is a neurotransmitter to the intestinal tract and motility.
Right.
It's one of them. So it's a good argument for adding fresh foods as well, but um, most manufacturers do try to compensate for that deficiency, but it's still an unopened answer of whether cats are getting enough as they need. So are we looking going back to the whole concept? Are the foods triggering what's going on?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, we keep going circles and coming back to. I warned you
No,
about
no,
this.
it's true. It's true. But we have to simplify it also
Yes,
for the listeners.
yes,
Thiamine B1,
right.
right? It's a
Mhm.
B vitamin.
Yes,
Um, you find it in meats and legumes.
right.
So we don't give cats legumes. We give them meats.
Give them meat
Go
treats.
back to, I'm sorry,
Give meat treats.
meat treats. Absolutely. Freeze dried meat treats where
Yep.
you can. It's and also, a B vitamin supplement can be given as well. There are liquid B supplements, but
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather the pet owner start with the appropriate diet. And yeah,
Right.
some of those canned foods are lacking in nutrients as
Yes,
well. Yeah,
but
absolutely.
yes, I still think you're so far ahead of the game with a really good quality, high meat protein canned food diet. You cannot really go wrong with that.
No, no. And unfortunately, a lot of pet owners react immediately if something does happen, if there is a problem, they immediately blame the food if they've recently changed foods or foods
Correct.
have been modified to correct one situation. They jump and say, it was the food, I'm going to go back.
Right.
So there is a thought pattern that we need to work on. We have to think about all the layers here.
Okay.
That food, the food change could have triggered the reaction because your animal was lacking.
Mm-hmm.
So, what else do we need to do to clear the space so they can get better?
Oh boy.
I'm just saying, the B vitamins
Yeah. No.
are
No. No.
definitely lacking in crappy foods.
Yeah.
And absorption is a factor as well, right?
Absolutely. Do we add digestive enzymes and things like that to help break the foods down, to even try to help with digestibility as well?
Mm-hmm.
One of the more interesting things that I'm a big fan of frequent feeding my cats,
Okay.
4, 6, 8 times a day, but they are not grazers. So the food isn't sitting out there all the time, but they're in time. So one of the interesting recommendations that I was reading is doing more of a timed schedule so that it allows the stomach to empty properly
Right.
and then move on to the next meal. So I think that's an interesting concept to really look at, as well as helping you with your schedule. So many people, they worry about, why does my cat wake me up so early? Going, things you can do to bed at night, really kind of looking at a schedule that's to both of your benefits might be a really nice step. So you're looking here at more environmental, more behavioral shifts, as well as adding that on top of the layer of the diets.
Absolutely. You're right about that.
Mhm.
You're right about that. But not grazing, not leaving
Correct.
a dry food, which is not a species appropriate diet, out for your cat to graze on all day.
Because
That actually, what that does, it causes more malabsorption
mhm.
than we, I mean, it's something I haven't thought about for a while, but when they're grazing, especially on a food that is not species appropriate on kibble,
Mhm.
they're really not absorbing anything. It's just filling the
So,
gut. Yeah.
and especially we know that diets that are higher in carbohydrates, cats will continue eating to get to the protein level that they need. So you're adding obesity to that pattern then on top of it if you're letting food sit out and graze.
Oh, okay. So here,
We're going all over the place. I
it's
told you.
okay. Takeaways from this.
Okay.
Switch to a high quality, high meat diet. If you can include raw food, fabulous, or at least some quality cooked meats
Mm-hmm.
from your refrigerator, from
Mm-hmm.
the table. Um,
Can I
start.
add something here a little bit? When we talk about raw food diets, I want people to also understand that there is a spectrum. I remember chatting with a number of people over the years. Oh, I don't have time to make raw food diet. There's some great commercial options out there now.
Yeah.
There's, we talked about freeze dried the one time. Can you use freeze dried and rehydrated? It makes it a little more palatable for cats. You've got processes that try to reduce the pathogen risk. So the veterinarians, I think, need to also understand a little bit more about the safety protocols in a lot of the raw foods out there. I know that this stamp of, oh, raw is dangerous, but we also know that there's some fantastic benefits to fresh uncooked foods, reducing inflammation, reducing um, insulin resistance. So those are things that, let's kind of weigh both of those to say, go into it with raw food. There's some really nice options to look at, and don't just step away being afraid of raw food. So
Fabulous.
sorry.
No, no apologies. Please keep going because you hit every mark when it comes to raw food on for cats.
Yeah.
Well, I would say for
There's,
all animals.
I find it the most amazing thing. One of the things that I talk about with a number of my cat clients is using meat completers. People have never heard of them.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And their eyes light up and they say, oh my gosh, I can make my cat's food. And it's absolutely. So, to really understand, canned food and kibble isn't the only choice for our cat owners. You have a huge range of food options. And my big thing that I always come back to people, they say, I've tried every food. There's at least 8,000 types of pet foods.
I
I
know.
don't think you have.
I know. I know. But if you walk into, well, I'm doing a segment about Petco being a health company.
Oh boy. Can I listen in on that one? Fly on the wall?
Would you like to join us as
Sure.
a crew? Please join us. I think it's we're recording this Sunday night, and what's interesting is if I go into a Petco, they have what looks like a big selection, but it's a lot from the same brands. They have a lot of SKUs from the same brands. And some brands I wouldn't touch.
Right.
I'm not going to go there. And we're going to go back to hairballs because this is relevant to hairballs.
Right.
Uh, so they have some quality brands like Instinct that has the freeze dried formulas at a store like Petco.
Right.
It is a little higher priced. It's actually, I sell it for less in my store than they do at a Petco for a small retailer. It's very interesting how
It is.
we have to be more competitive than them, but people make the assumption that they are more competitive. So you can go into a Petco and try the high pressure pasteurized
Hmm.
frozen diets or the freeze dried diets and add some, make sure you reconstitute it. Please reconstitute the
I
freeze
know.
dried, or you, or sprinkle it on top of the canned foods as a starter. So there is some moisture. But they are coming off as the pet health store and a health company, but the brands they carry are of really lower quality. They're they market really well, but are they really there for the well-being of the cat and the dog? That's a question that we're going to jump into
Oh boy. Okay.
in an upcoming episode, in
Okay.
another episode.
Right. Right. Yes, it is daunting for someone to walk into any pet store and see the rows and rows of cans.
Where do you start? What do you know? And then you get stuck on, as a pet owner, I know they go right for the thing that has worked and the cat has eaten over and over and over again.
Right.
They don't go outside of that space. And then when there's hairballs, they look at, like, for a formula, they look for a formula that says hairball control,
Correct.
or they add a supplement like the lactatones or whatever, the gels.
Hmm.
So, and we're giving these oily, gunky stuff along with a high fiber diet that takes the animal away from what is natural to their species.
Right. I think we're looking at, um, and forgive me, I had the train of thought of everybody is ingrained our own health, a quick fix.
Yeah.
I have this health issue. I want this medication to fix it. So it's based on the same principle. My cat has hairballs, therefore I have a hairball remedy to fix it. Instead of really understanding the underlying issues that those hairballs might be some really critical information that you need, um,
Yep.
to talk with your veterinarian and say, wait a minute, why is my cat, yeah, right, I've noticed my cat licking himself more. Or the other, one of the biggest ones I hear a lot of is the cat that's grooming the other cat, like, is developing the hairballs.
Mm-hmm.
Those sort of issues.
Yep.
So coming back to the foods, it's just really about learning more of what the cat needs so that they have a little better understanding of what to read on that label. I heard something yesterday. I walked in one of the local pet stores here, to pick up some treats for and some backup canned food. And I was chatting with the owner and she was, shit, did you see this new X brand bag? They've redone, the company that bought them has redone the bags. She said, it's really fascinating. People have walked over and picked up that bag and bought it just because of the packaging.
Oh God, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Of course.
But the labeling is so incorrect and people go by what's on the pretty front of the package. So,
Well, the guaranteed analysis really doesn't give us much information either.
no, no.
So,
And the ingredient list can be misleading for many people if they don't know how to understand that. So, yes, the pet owner, somebody standing there they're at a disadvantage.
yeah, they are. The pet owner is at a disadvantage, and that's why they need to listen to this podcast.
Yes, they do.
Share it with your friends, guys.
So what do we do about hairballs? I do think the gels, or one of the things that I keep coming up is Vaseline, can be used in emergencies. I don't use them.
Vitamin E oil instead.
Fantastic.
Don't use Vaseline.
I know. It blocks. I know that it blocks a cat, but you've got somebody freaking out in their home with a cat. It's the one thing, like, I have a cat behavior issue. I go tell them to go get the vanilla out of your kitchen to mark your cat because he smells like the clinic that he just came home. So trying to prepare the homeowner. So how many do have vitamin E oil at home? And I agree with you. I think it's a much better option.
How about butter?
Butter's great.
I use butter. I
Do
mean,
you?
I rather, a lot of people have butter.
Yep.
So
Perfect.
use a little butter. I mean, it's still an oil-based product. A lot
Yep.
of people take fish oils or have it in their pantry because they forget to take it. If you have a if you have a quality fish oil in your pantry, a couple of drops of that
Great.
will
Thank you.
help,
Yeah,
right?
I agree.
Yeah,
I
but
agree
still
100%
use
with you.
Vaseline.
I know.
Yeah. Sorry. There are alternatives.
There are, and and the one fascinating thing is, and don't use coconut oil.
Tell me why.
It has been implicated in triggering hepatic lipidosis. So I think it's one of those things, most cats you probably won't have an issue with. And I know several holistic vets that I work with, they encourage to use it with cancer patients. But I've had enough odd little cases that the cat doesn't do well. Is it a cat that has pancreatitis and they
Yep.
start giving it coconut oil and things really go out of control?
Yep.
So that's something that I do warn people about. It's great for dogs.
I'm so glad you said that because I've seen the same thing.
Have you really? Yeah. I,
Uh, if a cat is prone and we don't know if the cat has some issues with
mhm.
potentially having pancreatitis, the coconut oil triggers it
Yeah,
and they wind up at the emergency clinic.
right. Yeah. And
And,
butter is the same, short chain or moderate chain. So why not use butter instead of the coconut oil?
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And once or twice. It
Mhm.
shouldn't be consistent.
Now, see, I'm a fan of using butter, as we talked last time, with your senior guys anyway, because it's a great fat source
Mm-hmm.
and adds extra calories. You've got a senior kitty that's malnutrition, really losing some weight. We can add some really nice fat calories that the cat can use by using some unsalted butter.
Yeah. Don't use margarine, please.
I don't know if how many people still use margarine? I'm
I don't
sorry.
know. I just have to say it.
Yeah, it's not the same.
It's not. Just like coconut oil. It was coconut oil a couple of years ago, as you know, was so incredibly popular and it was all over the internet. Use it for pets, use it for everything, use it to do swishing on your teeth or cover your body in it and you're going to lose 400 pounds. So there, it was just, yeah, your cat is going to look like a lion if you use it, but act like a baby. So anyway,
Yeah.
there's these empty promises that come with these and these fads that happen in the
Mhm,
health industry. We have to
mhm.
be really cautious because there's no studies that are going along with it. And then we see the results of it in our small retail spaces, those of us who are aware, those of
Right.
us who are working with the animals. Not every retailer or not every business does what we do.
Right.
So, have an awareness, and the information won't be put out there generally until too many animals are
Haven't
damaged
had
by it.
correct. I think it goes across the board. Every all the pet magazines, everybody talks about how we're humanizing our animals and how the human trends influence the
Mm-hmm.
pet food industry. There, it's humans versus cats, and we have to be very careful of that. I remember years ago, a client came in to me how she was feeding her cat all kinds of superfoods to help her cat, and then turning around and saying, "My cat has GI issues."
I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh.
No, she didn't understand the concept. So we worked with her on that.
I don't mean to laugh, but it's
No,
true because they want to do the best that they
they
can for the
do. They think they're doing, if this is going to help me as my pet, as the pet owner, then clearly it must be good for my cat.
yeah,
And
and unfortunately, the industry will put it out there because it's just popping sales up. There's several supplement companies that are going purely online and pulling out of uh, the independent pet retail side, and they're going online only to sell online only. And
Really?
yeah, and often I wonder, are they doing this because their product sucks anyway? I mean, they're not even an ASC certified, a couple of these guys.
Right.
So you wonder, is it because there is that? It's like, when you first land in Vegas and you see all the lights. Where do I want to go first?
Yeah.
If you're a guy, which strip joint do I want to know? but, but yeah, there's this all this stuff that can help the condition, and there's
Yes.
all these promises, and there's also a list of consumer commentary about how amazing these products are, or we assume it's coming from pet owners. I recently I did a bad review about some ink that didn't print the color it claimed it was. So the ink company got in touch with me and said, we'd like to give you $40 for you to give us a 5-star review or delete the review. So I ignored that email because,
Yeah.
I spent $70 on this ink. $40 isn't going to cut it. First of all, don't buy my. You want me to lie for you?
Mm-hmm.
So the same thing happens with these product makers.
Yeah.
That's their customer service. That's their product management. That's
Mm-hmm.
their quality control. And this is why we have to be very cautious with what we buy, who we buy it from, who the manufacturer is, and understand what we're doing. And that goes along with food as well.
Absolutely. I think it's the same sort of protocols like you were just saying with food. Who makes it, who formulated it, both in the supplements or foods, where do they source the ingredients from? All of those need to be, and we're too quick to trust those testimonials and not really understand who the company is behind those products. Um,
Yeah,
that's and it takes work as a consumer, as well as there's a lot of layers of covering traceability too. So I have to give the pet owners some slack on some of that as well.
for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
am grateful I have the knowledge I have, and it breaks my heart that people don't
Hmm.
have this.
Hmm.
But
I
again,
have a question for you.
yeah,
I'm seeing more and more some recommendations of, and I've not used it personally, is soaked chia seeds.
what cats eat seeds. That's
Well, it'd be a similar to, let's say, flaxseed, to use it in, let's say, with constipation or something like. Have you ever used it?
chia.
Just
No, and I won't.
okay.
No, and I won't. And there are a lot of dog foods now, in the direct to consumer segment that use chia. It adds a lot of weight once it has water added
Yeah.
to it and becomes gelatinous. It adds weight. Uh, Yeah, I mean it's a fiber. I
Hmm.
don't. No,
Okay.
I won't. I'd rather make sure the cats, when it comes to hairballs, are getting a diet that's appropriate for them, that they're properly groomed,
Right.
and along with that, we don't go running to buy a topical conditioning agent for the coat, which will just make it worse because you're going to have to wash them.
Right. Right. And I don't know of many that I would feel comfortable the cat licking anyway. Um,
That's a great point.
yeah, I over the years I never carried any. There was one many years ago, and they went out of business. One of the things that I found, and I encourage clients to use, was green tea. Really helped detangle mats.
A topical spray of green tea.
Yep, yep.
Okay.
And clients said it, as well as we've got kitties that might have accidents in the back end, that it really helped clean that as well. So just something, green tea can be used a number of different ways, but something really simple.
Great.
Um,
How would they do it? Just soak
I
the
tell
tea?
people just make it a double strength tea. Like you're going to use half the amount of water, steep it, If you've
Hmm.
got a wound or scratch or something, you can use the tea bag as topical. Remember, this is anti-inflammatory and drying, so it's not one like with cat ears. You're not going to want to. You would dry the ears out too much, but it's great for cleaning up, let's say, diarrhea around the rectum. You just let it steep and cool, and then put it in a little spray bottle, or even just dip a gauze pad in it and wipe it.
Fabulous. Can it be used around the face?
Mm-hmm, sure. Yeah.
Great. So if they have gunky eyes, a
I
lot of
don't see why
time.
not. Yeah, just I would take like a gauze pad and dip it so
Hmm.
it's a little wet and wipe the eyes, get all of the crust around the eyes. I think it would be
That's
really nice.
great.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Good. Green tea, double dose. Awesome.
yeah.
Okay. So let's go through
Yeah,
what,
we keep getting off track here and
well, we're talking about hairballs. I
I
mean,
know, I
you
know.
wake up and you step into this mushy hot dog shaped thing. It's disgusting.
Well, something we haven't touched on is the presentation, cats hacking and coughing and whether they're productive or not productive. And
Mm,
then they can really be very dangerous. And to take a warning of that. I do remember over the years, oh, my cat's coughing, 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 but nothing's coming out. That cat needs to be seen by the vet because we know that similar coughs can be asthma or even congestive heart failure.
right.
Those sort of things to, oh, it's just not a hairball. Don't assume it's a hairball. And that at times they will block the food and they need to be surgically removed. So hopefully we can back things up and prevent that, but they're not always, as we've laughed about, as a joking matter.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
that's why it's important to not let them graze,
Mhm.
because it that's where most blockages tend to happen, because they're grading, because they're grazing and they're not absorbing their food as fast.
I
And then
don't,
there's that hairball.
right. I think they're also in learning this whole cycle of food. Are they also not emptying the stomach as much as they could be by grazing? So this
Right.
concept of meals like planned meals or giving their GI tract a break allows that stomach to empty properly, and then pass those nutrients on. So,
Great information. So let's do a checklist of
sure.
things to look for,
Hmm.
what not to do, and when it's time to go to the vet.
Right.
So I'm going to give it to you. Go for it.
No, you've been taking the notes. I've been running my mouth. Um,
You're the expert. I ask questions. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing. I like, I learn.
okay, first, what was the first one? Let's start there.
Diet.
Diet, absolutely. If people, one thing they can take away is to really learn what their cat needs to be eating. You know, and I know I've said this before, even if you look on the major schools and they talk about cats being an obligate carnivore and they turn around and recommend the inverse of that. Okay. So again, understand what your cat really needs: high moisture, high meat proteins, organ meats, those, all of the things that are going to help not only with better digestion, healthier fur, so that the cat's not going to turn around and feel like they keep having to groom because their fur is not as healthy.
Perfect.
Whether it's dry fur, which is something we didn't do. I know you talked about greasy fur, but a lot of these kitties, especially longer hair, also end up with drier, that really downy sort of fur. That takes a lot of grooming. So that's where the grooming comes in with, good combs, something not just a brush to run over the top, something to really get down and get that fur. I've seen some really nice combs or like mat removers and things like that just disappear off the market. So I don't know why, because some of the things that I've seen really remove the fur. I'm not a fan of the Furminator, sorry.
No,
Uh,
neither am I.
I just felt that just ripped fur out versus
Yeah.
pulling out the excess. Um,
Yeah, and it doesn't bring the oils to the surface, which is where we want them, especially with the dry coats.
Correct, correct. Lots of water. We keep forgetting about this whole concept of water. So
Mhm.
both water and the moisture are in the canned foods or raw foods, or if you need to even add extra water in those foods that their cat's taking in more water. Water bowls around the house,
Mhm.
different shapes. Remember, not the cute little tiny muzzle bowls, so kitties um, are afraid to drink from it. Nice, good water bowls that they feel comfortable sticking their face in.
Wide enough to give their whiskers room so they
Mhm.
don't develop whisker fatigue.
Correct, correct.
Mhm.
Yeah. Um,
Can I jump in? And
Absolutely.
yeah, the grooming is you should get down to the skin when you're grooming. And one thing that I really love is a metal flea comb.
Mm,
Really gets them for the short-haired cats.
yep,
A good metal grooming comb that has narrow teeth for the long-haired, and for the short-haired cats, a nice metal flea comb really helps get down to
great.
the core.
Great advice. Great advice. Yeah.
And for the soup for your cats, the ones that have practically no hair, a curry brush is also great. The
Yes.
curry, what is it? Is it? It's not plastic. What the hell is it?
It's like a silicone or a rubberized sort of thing.
Yeah,
Yeah. So that
absorbent.
it, yeah.
So that also, if you go in circular motion, that brings all the natural oils to the surface.
I used to recommend a human wooden brush that had the round ends
Mm-hmm.
for that sort of circular motion to bring the oils, as well as cats love it as a massage. So
Yeah.
that's another option too. So,
Okay. Great. And we can use a little bit of green tea to just wipe them down
yep,
or clear up
yep.
any kind of, but it is drying. So if they have oily skin, you can wipe them down. But if they're
Mhm.
dry, don't do
No,
that.
yeah, yeah. But it's really good about if you've got little lesions, you can actually use it to help with that. Um, and great, like you say, right now with all the pollen, wiping them down with something along that line might be nice as well. Even that, think about like you said earlier, as dust magnets. What's the dust in the household?
Hmm.
What's the pollen? I mean, I'm looking here right now at my window and our cars are yellow because of all of the pollen. Think about your kitties having to ingest that as well. They're licking to clean their fur. They're probably going to, this is shedding season as well. They're probably taking in more so that they're going to be having more hair to have
Hmm.
to process. So,
And let's go back to the output when they are yakking up a hairball.
mhm.
If there is difficulty, if you can do a quick overview of what the concerns should be and when it's time to get them to the vet.
you know, if it's non-productive, if the hairball doesn't come up, and I'm talking, I don't know, a day or two. I mean, if you've really got a kitty that's struggling and coughing, I think
Mhm.
it needs to be seen fairly quickly, no question,
Excellent.
um, because it could be asthma, could be congestive heart issues that are developing. Um, as well as, especially if you change food, is there a food intolerance thing that's starting as well? So we've got several things that, oh, it's just a hairball,
Hmm.
not so much the thing you want to be careful of.
Okay, great. And then what to give them to help them with the process. You're giving them good foods, or you're just starting on this journey with the kitties and you're transitioning them to better diets, or you have a new cat who's had a rough life.
Mm-hmm.
What to give them and what not to give them as far as supplements go. Let's yeah, don't give Vaseline.
I love the idea of butter, like you said, vitamin E oil. Like you're right. Everybody's got vitamin E capsules at home, most likely.
Hmm.
So that's going to be a nice option. Um, Vitamin B complex, that's the hardest thing for me of trying to find one that I'd like to recommend for kitties, because I do think vitamin Bs can be very beneficial. There's just not a lot of brands that I feel comfortable recommending.
There are two brands I really like.
Okay.
RX Vitamins, Amino
Yes.
B6.
I'm
And it's
sorry. You are absolutely correct. That is a great
in,
option.
yeah, and it's in liquid form. It can be
Hmm.
given with food or just squirted into the side of their mouth. And Thorn makes a fabulous. They have a chewable canine B complex, and they have the capsules, or you can get the human one, and you have to give a very small amount. But
Right.
Thorn has an animal formula as well, which I love and recommend to my clients, especially kitties that are midlife who have been fed poorly and need some help, and they're transitioning to better diets because they've met me. So,
I'm also going to stick something in here. I think herbs probably have a place in this
mhm,
option of
yes,
helping more efficiency of what's going on. Springtime, liver time, do we need to be looking at herbal therapies that will help the liver at this time, help address any sort of stomach acids or bile that's going on that might be causing some complications as well. So I think some liver formulas would be really good to look at spring and fall.
right.
Um, Fish oils we talked about.
Mm-hmm. Fish
Uh,
oils we got, right? A
yeah,
good fatty acid. How about, and don't do coconut oil,
correct.
right?
Yep.
Because you've seen the hepatic lipidosis with that happening. So have I. What about there's this product,
I just realized we're probably going to get in a little bit of trouble because there is a line of products of cat hairball remedies that use coconut. So
what are we getting in trouble for? This
I know.
morning,
Yes,
did they do their research, or are they a company that makes coconut products and they came out with a cat line? Doesn't
right,
mean that
right.
they're on the
Just
right.
something to be aware of is what.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
if your cat is prone to pancreatitis or has liver disorders or is in early kidney
yeah,
failure,
absolutely. I
you
would stay
got
away
to
from it.
be really careful.
Hmm.
So no, I don't give a shit who's making what. And there's a company that has coconut flakes
Hmm.
that I found works very differently than coconut oil.
Really?
Yeah, the coconut flakes, just a little bit on top of the food will help, but good, healthy cats.
Right.
Haven't sold it to anyone with cats that have any
Health
health
is
issues.
right.
So that's one. And then there's another product that I like, but I only recommend it when the animal's on a species appropriate diet because there is psyllium husk in there
Right.
and there is slippery elm. That's best. It's really a palatable tablet, and you
What is
can.
it?
Vet's Best hairball
Oh, yes.
treatment,
Oh, interesting.
right? Their hairball treatment is, and they have a digestive enzyme in there,
Hmm.
and marshmallow, going back to the herbs.
Right. So they're using a nice combination
They
there.
use a nice combination, very low dose of all these products, and it
What
has a digestive enzyme and papaya enzyme. So,
we also have Animal Essentials, which you and I've mentioned before. They
yeah,
have their new hairball remedy, which does use
mhm,
marshmallow and slippery elm, I think. And
right,
yeah,
right. Yeah. So, Animal Essentials as well, they have a nice product.
yeah,
So, there are a couple of things out there that will help with digestion. And also hairballs have to do come out of the back end as well. You can
right,
see the litter box. Sometimes you'll see a long piece of fur making an arrow, pointing an arrow to the ceiling in
right.
your cat's litter box. So then does that mean they're digesting this or they're processing it? What does that mean,
I
Terry?
think what it means that motility is operating properly so that they're able to excrete this hair,
Hmm.
indigestible hair. They're able to excrete it properly.
Okay.
Um, so, and I going back to the products that you were mentioning, we're not just treating them to to move them through, let's say with fiber. What you've mentioned is you're using digestive. There have been some studies that have done using digestive enzymes with, oddly enough, sugarcane fiber. And they did found that there was an improvement of passing when they added the digestive enzymes. You're adding herbs that have tacky, sticky sorts of texture. like marshmallow to pull the fur to help move it, and the slippery elm to help move with the motility. So you're using things work together synergistically instead of just trying to plow that hair through the gut.
Like Vaseline.
Yeah. You're not going to let me live that one down, are you?
Come on, it was funny. I was like, what the hell is she talking about?
I have to admit,
She's
years
one of
ago,
my goddesses. She's one of my heroes. I adore you. I absolutely adore you. And let's so we got food, we got the supplements, we got the grooming, and
talk about stress. Let's talk about the environment.
yay! Go for it.
Well, it's just something that I think a lot of kitties have stress issues, and I think the grooming is a way for them to handle stress. I think we also have to look at nervous stomachs as part of all of this. A lot, I call it kitty swallowing stress. So we end up with gastrointestinal disorders, that are not allowing the digestive tract to work properly. So we have to really look at the whole picture of what the cat's going on. Are there changes in the household? All of a sudden, they're seeing hairballs. Are there a new addition to the family? Even just plain old furniture being moved sometimes will stress a cat out. You know, I'm working with a client right now that poor thing, the owner thought they were doing right. It's a dry food diet. It's about 45% carbohydrates. Um,
Oh,
I know.
sorry.
And he was the first cat, and now he has another cat, two little baby toddlers, and another one on the way. And she's wondering why this cat's stressing. So,
Can you get rid of the toddlers? No, I'm kidding.
I know you are. But we had to talk about ways to make the environment safer, bolt holes for this kitty to be able to feel safe in his environment that has been invaded now by other cats and other little humans, other two-legged.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And it's wonderful that the owners are reaching
oh,
out and looking for help. Those are the,
absolutely.
and that's wonderful. So if you need help, we're here to help you.
Yeah.
We can definitely guide you. So
Absolutely. That was the very rewarding. She said, "Okay, sign me up for everything." I'm like, "Okay, let's do this one at a time." So, but yes, I think stress needs to be looked at in everything with cats. We do know now that a lot of times change in behavior is a health issue, and a health issue will cause a change in behavior. So we need to look at those as part of this.
got it. Okay. Are we missing anything else? Are we missing anything?
I don't know. I don't know. I have pages of notes here to go over. So,
Sorry, I made you do this, but it's
no,
fun.
good. I know. When you said it, I thought, oh my gosh, when's the last time we really talked talked about hairballs? It's rare,
Mhm.
and veterinarians have to deal with it all the time. And as you and I talked about, there's not a lot of supporting research. It's kind of anecdotal. I saw this experience, that experience, and what I was looking through.
You're right. Nothing that I have found either. And
Except for, oh, we can use this fiber to help
Mhm.
remove it, or that combination of something else. Instead of, oh, and we add extra vitamins and minerals, why not just do it initially with the base food? So
What about kitty grass? We didn't talk about this. Cat grass.
I
Wheatgrass.
like cat grass. I've been watching my cats. My yard is set up. My guides can go out, and they've been chowing down on the grass. And then it comes right back up because they're purging their stomach. Other times they pass it along. I think cats like the taste of grass. I think that's a thing that they enjoy, but I also believe they're using it to scour their stomach.
I agree. And do you think it helps with cats that have hairballs? Is that something that there are so many really good cat grass kits that you can grow
Yeah,
your own.
why not?
Especially, yeah, I live in New York City
Yeah.
in apartments. My cats have nowhere to go. They look out and they're like hoping to see a pigeon fly by. So it's sad. I got to move out of the city. But I give them cat grass
Mhm.
every week, fresh grass every week, and they go to town.
Yep. You just have to be prepared for it to come back up, and that's what we try to explain to people. And some people don't want that, and others do. But it is an issue that.
Yeah.
But I do think it's worthwhile giving them. I do. I enjoy watching them chow it.
And a little crap coming up is not the end of the world, and hopefully they'll get whatever hair is. Yeah, it's interesting. One of my cats who loves the grass, she's a little dandelion. She's such a cutie. She named her after a weed. No, I'm kidding. But she,
Hey, dandelions are fantastic.
I know,
They make
great
a
for
great
the
herb.
I know. She's my great herb. But she loves eating the cat grass. And once in a while, I'll see a little hair in there. And I say, my God, I didn't brush you this week. And it triggers me to go brush her.
You're
So for me, that's good when
yes,
they're not bringing up any hair, but any hair balls, that
right.
big log,
Yep.
gross
Yep.
log um, with the brown gunk in it. So this was great. It was informative. I think we got a lot of we didn't get into what it's called medically, just baseline for the listeners to understand.
No, you know, I don't. I have to. I'm just not going to step my foot in that because I can't. I think that takes the medical profession to really look at. It's one of the things that we're talking about in some of the papers is when they throw up undigested food. What does that mean, or how quickly they throw it up?
Yeah,
If your cat's throwing up repeatedly, get them to the vet. Don't.
exactly. Please.
So, yeah.
It's beyond a hairball. There are
Mhm.
so many factors that can lead them to throwing up. In this episode, we wanted to hit on the hairballs so we could
Yep.
help you not have your cats yakking it up right at the side of the bed.
Go.
You need help with choosing foods and getting guidance in what to do and what not to do because it is so confusing. You can reach out to Terry at terrygrow.com or reach out to me at thepetropolis.com and schedule some sessions with us and we can help you.
I would enjoy that. I always like to learn from clients.
Hey, yeah, I'm with you on that. So, Terry, thank you so much for doing this today. I really appreciate it.
You're very welcome as always. Thanks, Ted.
Thank you.